Guys, I'm Lauren, and in today's video I wanted to film more of a sit-down video. As you can see by the title, I'm going to tell you about the books that I read in January, February, and March. For this year, my goal is to read 40 books, I believe. So far, I have been doing really well with my reading goal, and I have read 32 books so far. So in the month of January, it looks like I read 9 books, which was literally insane. I think that's the most I've ever read in a month. I'll make sure to put some of the stats on the screen, but this is how many books I've read in January. I do want to preface this by saying, 1, I do work full-time, and 2, I do read whenever I can, but I don't really have any dedicated time set aside to reading unless I'm able to do it, whether it's like really slow at work or if I stay home. So unless I'm able to spend the day at home and I'm not spending time with family, friends, or my boyfriend, then I'll be reading or watching TV or filming like I'm doing right now. But I did work this morning. So like I said, I do read whenever I can, but I also do spend a lot of my reading listening to audiobooks. So my current listening speed is 1.85. And I know some of you, if you don't listen to audiobooks, or if you do, you're like, girl, that's crazy. How do you listen to books so fast? I started out at 1, and then I gradually increased with the more books that I read, and the more I could comprehend while listening to them at a faster speed, I increased it. I haven't gone past 1.85. I honestly don't foresee myself going past 1.85. Wow, I really did just jump right into it. I was gonna share a fun drink with you guys. I brought this strawberry lemonade sparkling water with me. Let me clean off my can. I hope that was satisfying to the people that like it and not annoying to those that don't. Amazing. Oh yeah, that's good. Based on if I have the physical copy with me, I'll just put images up on the books that I'm referring to, in case you haven't read them before or heard of them. I don't know if that's possible with the age of booktube and stuff, but you never know. Also, I do think I want to make this more of like a little overview of what the books are about. I am someone that likes to go into books blind. Sometimes it's fun, sometimes I regret it and I have to DNF it, but I usually get my recommendations either through like Kindle or obviously based on the booktubers that I watch and follow and stuff. So that's where I get a lot of recommendations from. So the first book we have here is Emily Henry's Great Big Beautiful Life, and let's see, I remember liking that book. I don't think I rated it high for an Emily Henry book in my opinion, but I will tell you what I did rate it. I gave it 3.75 stars. I don't know, it was just something about the ending that I did not like about the book, and so I gave it a lower rating. So that was the first book that I finished this year. I finished that January 5th. I took a little bit longer to read this book because I wasn't actually sure if I'd like it. The next book I have is Dungeon Crawler Carl, the first one. I started that December 23rd, and I have here that I finished it January 8th. So obviously, yes, it was kind of during the holiday season, but also I did take a long time to read it because I believe I had that on audio. I think I listened to that as an audiobook. The next book I read over kind of my vacation in January when I went to California. I remember liking this book in the beginning, and then towards the middle part actually, and definitely the end, I did not like it. I was really close to DNFing it, but I wanted to see where the story went, and that is Nora Goes Off Script. I gave that a 2.5 stars. That feels really harsh. I didn't like it as much as everyone else did, so I did give it 2.5 stars. The book that I read after that, I read The Love Haters. I read this one, it says in 2 days. I reread it. I started reading it January 18th and I finished it January 19th, and I gave it 4.5 stars. So after that, I have the third book, the third novella of a series called The Murderbot Diaries. It's a series that my friend actually recommended to me. She does like a lot of reading and she works in like the library setting, so she does have access to books and also arcs. So I get a lot of my recommendations from her as well, and I really like this one. So I actually have the physical copy here with me right now, and I have the volumes of them. So I have, this is the first volume, whereas books 1 and 2, and then I have the second volume, which is books 3 and 4. Rogue Protocol Exit Strategy I have in here. The next book is one of the longer ones, so it's more of an actual novel length. It's Network Effect. And then after that, I have volume 3, in which I read and listened to Fugitive Telemetry. Emoji, I think that's how you pronounce that, and also System Collapse. I gave that whole series 5 stars. I think each book I gave 4.5 stars, which looking back at it, I'm not quite sure why. I also listened to the audiobooks through Libby because the audio was like 3 hours long, and with me listening to it at 1.85, I think it took 90 minutes for each book to for me to listen to it or so. But I highly recommend this series if you are into more of a sci-fi realm where it's like in space, in like a dystopian space. I mean, not that we live in space now, so how is it really dystopian? But I feel like that description still fits the vibes. It is very fast to get through. You can't get any better than that. I also don't think I've heard a lot of people talk about this series. I know the TV show on Apple TV, which I watched after finishing the first book. So I highly recommend this series if you want something quick and easy to get through. The main character is so funny and also relatable, even if he is a robot. So I did have one DNF this month for January. I tried to read Wild Dark Shore. I think I got 40% of the way through the book, and I was really trying to enjoy it, the story. I just couldn't get into it. It was just something about either the way it was written or the characters or the plot. I guess the whole thing, since I DNF'd the book. I just didn't enjoy it. I think I'm in the minority when I say that. It kind of reminded me of another book that I read last year, Last Murder at the End of the World. I'll put the cover on the screen again, but I love that book, and I found that scrolling through Kindle's dollar deal, I think, one day, and I got it for like 99 cents or something, and I don't regret it because it was one of my favorite books. So those were all 9 books that I read in January. I can put the average star rating up here. I don't track pages or anything because, like I said, I go between physical, Kindle, and audiobook. So in that aspect, I don't like tracking it. The only thing I do like tracking is star rating, how many books I read, and how many days. Okay, so my current reading streak for this year is 145 days. So the widget I have on my home screen has it tracked the beginning that I started using the app, and it says 460 days. So I guess that's officially longer than the Duolingo streak I had. Not to brag, but I do try to read / listen to a book at least once a day because it brings me a lot of joy. So for the month of February, I was able to read 6 books. I read 4 thrillers, 1 fantasy, and 1 sci-fi book. Can anyone guess what sci-fi book I read in February? If you said Project Hail Mary, you'd be correct. Okay, let's be honest. I think we all read that book at this point, which is good because we all should read that book. One thing I did forget to mention in the beginning of this video is that I am a part of one of the YouTubers I follow, her book club on Fable. So some of the books that I read are from that. Okay. And the first book that I was able to finish in February happens to be Project Hail Mary. I was not able to get the like classic cover from Barnes & Noble's, but look how floppy my edition is. I love it so much. I love when a paperback is like this. It's my favorite to read because, like, look at that. I am one of those annoying people where I try to not crack the spine of a book because I don't like the way it looks on a bookshelf, but like it's so enjoyable to read. This was my first 5-star of the year. I believe this was my first 5-star of the year. I think about this book all the time. I think about the movie all the time. And I think about Rocky and Grace all the time. And I really do want a shirt that says amaze, amaze, because amaze. Did I mention that I don't really give descriptions about the book? It kind of makes me feel bad, but also like if you're intrigued to hear about the book, it's sci-fi. If you haven't heard about it, I definitely recommend you go and read it. All of my friends, sorry, I shouldn't say that. One of my friend groups, we all read the book, not together, during the same time, obviously, before the movie came out, and then we all rented out a movie theater and we all saw it together, and it was so much fun. And I hope that we are able to do that again because I highly recommend reading a book with all your friends and then seeing it in the same movie theater, because why not? Like adult money, you know? It wasn't even expensive. I think it was like, it ended up being like $12 per person. Okay, and then we're keeping the streak, the 5-star streak alive, because the next book that I read was My Husband's Wife by Alice Feeney, and I gave it 5 stars. This is just now in this part of the video where I realized I've been saying the title of the book, but I haven't been saying the author as well. Okay, and then the third book that I read in February is technically, I believe it is the 5th book of the Inheritance Cycle series. I read Murtagh by Christopher Paolini, and I gave that 4.5 stars. It was really fun reading a book series that my boyfriend grew up reading. I believe that's right. I believe he read it when he was younger. I think that's what he said. I had never heard of the series, so it was really fun to be able to, one, read a series that he loved when he was younger, and also to read it together because he wanted to reread it because the 5th book came out, and I gave it 4.5 stars. After reading that, I read another Alice Feeney book. As you can see, I was on an Alice Feeney kick. I read Daisy Darker. The thing with this one is, I remember when I was listening to it, I was like really confused because the story sounded really similar. So I was either in between having read the story already and I didn't mark it down, or I read a story that was really similar. So I tried to go back through my Notion page, and I think I realized that I had already read Daisy Darker, but I just never marked it as read, which was really confusing because I was like, I'm pretty sure I know where this story is going. Editing Lauryn here. Definitely forgot that I read this book. After that, my copy from the library came through and I was able to read. Did I read this one or did I listen to? I think I listened to Good Bad Girl by Alice Feeney, and I gave that one a 4.25 stars. All of her books, all of her thriller books I really like, and I wanted to go back and read her backlog. And it was really fun. And next up for the month of March, I read 4 books. Let's see. 1 thriller, 1 magic realism, and 2 fantasy. I'll say 1 cozy fantasy, the other is just dystopian fantasy. I do remember reading this one specifically on my Kindle that I got through the library, because I have here that I started it February 25th and I didn't finish it until March 6th. So what is that, 6 days? And that is Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney. Like I said, I was still on my Alice Feeney kick from the last month, and I was so happy when my copy came through from the library. The second book that I finished in March, here I have Accomplice to the Villain. I don't know why I didn't continue it. Maybe it's because the book needs to come out, but I did wait a long time between the book before this one and this one to read it, which was really annoying. But my friends were like, oh my god, it's so cute, you have to read it. Like, you have to get a copy from the library and you have to read it. And that's exactly what I did. And I gave it 4.5 stars. The next book is my 3rd 5-star of the year. I recommend the audiobook to anyone that likes reading and mystery. This audiobook was so good. I loved it so much. And that is The Midnight Bookshop by Amanda James. I give this book 5 stars. I also think about this book so often, which is obviously why I gave it 5 stars, and I just felt so much for the different characters, and I loved how they were able to bond over reading, but I did enjoy that they were able to basically discover who they were at the end of the book. It was really fun, and I highly recommend. So the 4th book I listened to / read in March is Carl's Doomsday Scenario, which is the 2nd book of the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. Also very enjoyable. I'm loving this series, and I was finally able to get my boyfriend to read it, and he loves it. I told him he'd love it, obviously. And I'm so glad that he does love it, and he actually passed me in reading it. He got all of the audiobooks for it on Audible, and I have slowly been getting them because I have so many books to get through. But I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4.75 stars, and that's also another series. If you haven't read it / heard people talk about it enough, you need to read it, you need to listen to it. It's very enjoyable, it's very fun. Especially the audiobooks, because like they have the sound effects and different voices. I don't really know what the other word I'm trying to look for is, but it's so fun. Or no, my sushi. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you for spending time with me and listening to which books I read in January, February, and March. I'll have all the final stats here on the screen if I didn't already put that up. And I hope you found at least 1 book that you've never heard of / just needed to push to give a try to, and try to read or listen to it. Also, don't forget to use your local libraries, whether that's for physical, Libby, or Kindle copies of books. I love doing that. So utilize that as much as you can, as much as you're able to. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.